Hey guys, welcome to my first title talk. Since this is the first, I want to start with a little bit about myself. So, my name is Kara Farrelly, and I currently work for Modern Abstract Company. And all of my professional work experience is in real estate. Formerly, I was the right hand woman for a real estate company, in which I got experience on that side of the industry as well. I am a cat mom, as well as an aunt, wife, and homeowner residing in Almost Heaven, West Virginia. So, today we're going to talk about the deed, which can also be called an indenture. This is the title to your home. Most companies will provide you with a physical copy of the deed as well as the original once it's recorded. It's also available online or at your local county courthouse as they are of public record. So I wanted to dive into this a little bit more and talk about deeds and their makeup. So the first part of the deed is the granting clause. This is where the seller, also called the grantor, is conveying or transferring the property to the buyer or grantee. So as you can see, that is the grantor or the seller, and they're transferring the property to the buyer or the grantee. This is also where the tenancy and consideration are mentioned. So just a little bit of additional background. Most times when people are purchasing as a married couple, they'll purchase as tenants by the entirety, which is the case on this deed that we're looking at as an example. So the next part of the deed is the legal description. The legal description is the metes and bounds or boundary lines of the property. A surveyor could definitely explain this in more detail, but they essentially address the angles of the corners of the property and the feet from one corner to the next. So kind of what I've highlighted is they have a starting point, which is the beginning at point. They also have, in what I've highlighted, it talks about the radius. So from one corner to the next, the distance of 41 feet, 9 1/2 inches. And then as you can see in the end, thence northwardly on the arc of a circle curving to the right. So the legal description for this one was a little bit fancier than some that we see, but as you can also see, this is, again, essentially describing the metes and bounds of the property. So there can also be exceptions included in the legal description. So such as accepting and reserving a piece of property sold out of a bigger piece. So for example, accepting and reserving a 15.51 acre parcel. So this was a bigger piece of property, let's say 30 acres, and they conveyed out 15 acres. So the next legal description is going to have this accepting and reserving clause. So right-of-ways are also common, as this example shows, under and subject to two 30-foot right-of-ways. So these could be if a piece of property behind you is landlocked, meaning that there's no other way to get into the property, there might be a right-of-way through your property for them to get to their property. Another really good example is for utility companies. Like if the power company has a power line on your property, they will typically have a right-of-way to get to that power line. The last example that I have here are covenants and restrictions, which are common if your property is in an HOA or subdivision. And as you can see, it'll be under and subject to the following express covenants and conditions and restrictions. So every HOA is a little bit different. So those covenants and restrictions will be a little bit different, but it can be anything from, no farm animals to your house has to be a certain size. The next is the being clause, which is where the last deed will be mentioned. This is helpful for us to follow the trail of owners. It will include the last seller, so that's Tiny Tim, the current seller, and where to find the deed at the courthouse. So the current seller is Mary J. Doe, who we saw at the beginning. She got the property from Tim Tiny, and it was recorded in Philadelphia County as document number 123456. The end of most deeds are what I like to call the legal mumbo jumbo. They're essentially breaking down what is being conveyed to you and what isn't. So, for example, the legal description is about the dirt, and there is a together with clause, which basically says all improvements are included: driveways, the home, garage, etc. And the rights to the property. Another really common clause is regarding the minerals. So, that's whether or not those rights are being conveyed in your deed, and most times they'll also mention the title to the minerals are not insured. And basically, what that means is that most title companies that you go to don't do searches to find who owns the mineral rights. So you would need to go to a separate attorney, get a separate search for those minerals, for anything from coal, oil and gas, the list goes on. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Definitely let me know if you have any questions or critiques. I think we're going to take a break next week for the holidays, but I will be back on December 30th and would love to hear what you want to talk about next. If I don't hear from anyone, I'm thinking that we are going to start on the title commitment. So definitely let me know what you think. Thanks, guys.